Hello and welcome. Today I'm here with Vera Asanin from the Your Workplace magazine. Vera is the publisher of the magazine, and it's a magazine that specializes in how to really provide the information to business leaders that they need to help their workplaces grow and prosper. Now, this issue in particular is called Find Your Why. And so what I would like to do is ask her some questions a little bit about how the why is so important to the workplace. So maybe you can start there, Vera. First of all, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much
for joining us today.
It was great being here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. So tell us why it's so important to start with the why.
It's about being at our best, right? It's about finding our purpose and allowing that to fuel who we are, what we do. It strengthens us physically, mentally, spiritually, because then we wake up in the morning knowing what we want to do. And for the organization to get best performance out of employees, it's really having clarity about why do we exist as an organization. Not what do we do and how we do it, but why.
Wonderful. And for those of you who are watching, I'm sure what's coming to your mind is what comes to my mind when I think of these, is once you've figured out the why, then what do you do?
You live it.
How? How?
So, and what that means is once you're really clear on why it is that you're doing what you're doing, and then what naturally follows from that is, are the services and products that you're providing really best aligned to meet the why of the organization? And how we actually, the delivery of those services and products, are they correctly aligned with why we're trying to achieve what we're achieving? And sometimes what you find is that there are incongruities between what you're actually doing and the services that you're providing or the products that you're providing and how it's aligned to the why of the organization.
And once the individual figures out his or her why, how does he then go and teach that as part of the corporate culture?
Right off the get-go, it's part of, the why of the organization is a huge part of the corporate culture. I mean, that is the raison d'etre, of the organization. And that's really what's needed. So even before before you start your recruiting process, it's having clarity about what that is. Right? So at your workplace, we want to inspire people to create workplaces that are where people want to work. And that's what we want to do. Is the magazine the only product? No. It's one of the products. Because and there may be a time now we've learned that print product is also a digital format. And we can go through the whole electronics, but we also have conferences as well. So we have different product to do what? To meet the why of the organization, right? And so it's important that be clear. And from there, then we look at recruiting people and bringing people in to meet the why. And when you have that clarity as well, there may be people within the organization who don't belong there because they're not aligned to that particular why. And so it really helps with clarity and making sure that you have the right people on board.
Absolutely. And what do you say, because I can so hear the questions right now saying, well, I'm here because I have to pay my mortgage. I'm here because I have to put food on my table. So really getting down to my life's purpose is a luxury I can't afford. How do you address a person who's coming to the table from that place?
I understand the place where you're coming from. But when you think that the majority of your waking hours are spent at work, and when you consider that the rest of those hours are preparing for work, sleeping so you can work, that what you're actually doing at work should really make you happy. And if it's not, don't do it. Because it's not good for you. It's not good for your soul. It's not good for your contribution to this planet right now. And why go through all of this and expend this time? And at the end of the day, you've successfully completed doing something you don't like. It just doesn't seem to be a good life purpose for me.
Yeah, and I'm a big believer of the being mindful of the energy that you bring to work, and how if you're having a bad day, that goes home to a bad drive home, that goes home to a bad evening with the husband and the kids, and and so to really wake up in the morning and feel purposeful and inspired that you know why you're going, and when you're there, you're having that pleasant experience. We talk a lot, you and I, about eradicating the Monday morning blues, and because we're there, like you said, we're there so long and so much, surrounded by people. We spend more time at work than we spend with our own family members.
That's right. That's right.
And we love our family, so there has to be a way to find how to love our time at work. And I think you really go to the core of that in this issue. And I'll just show you again, for those of you who are curious, it's called Your Workplace Magazine. It's featuring Simon Sinek on the cover, and he has written the book called Find Your Why. And I think you've done a really great job at driving that point home and raising that awareness. And one of the other points that I'd like to hear you elaborate upon a little bit is how the business leader who really builds a culture where the why is clear and the individuals are happy to support that why, what sort of connection or what kind of impact do you think he's having on them, and what does that bring him back personally for his reason?
When you give, you get back. And I believe that when you give from your heart and you put yourself out there, you get back more than you've actually given in the first place. And that to me is where the reward is. When you're a manager or a leader in your organization and you help somebody become their best, even if you potentially lose that person, that should fuel your soul for a long time, because you're helping people, you're empowering people to do what they are meant to do, to be happier people, and that should make you feel good as well. And that's an intangible, no matter how you cut it, right? There's no ROI on that. You can't really measure that, but you know if you're a leader and a manager and you've actually gone out there and you've supported your people, that comes back to you tenfold.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And you're right, and that's one of the things that we talk about a lot at the Pillars, is that it's very hard to measure the ROI, because what we get a lot is the people who are still not completely convinced. That's their first question. What's the ROI? How can I measure this? Why am I going to spend money on this if I can't have a big number on the bottom of the spreadsheet at the bottom of the month? And what we're saying is that, well, if people are thriving, then business is thriving. And the numbers are coming out more and more that these things are being measured. And we are seeing that an engaged workforce positively correlates to customer loyalty. Because customers don't leave companies. They go and they follow whoever it was that was taking care of them. So the better you can increase engagement and get people connected to the why of the organization, the better they will be at serving the customer, the more the customer will remain a customer, they'll buy more, it'll be an easier relationship, and they'll be more forgiving when product errors or service errors occur. So there is such great literature coming out, such great research to support what we've known all along, and I think it's fantastic that you're doing this and you're getting the message out there and providing this content.
Equally, as you're talking about the customer experience, your staff will also travel with a manager.
Yes,
definitely. And so understand that, right? So a lot of times, an employee may be dissatisfied with a company, but they will love their manager. Equally, they may love the company, but have a jerk manager. Right? And so what happens is, a lot of it has to do with how satisfied and engaged your employees are. So, for anybody who doesn't get that, I'll tell you this: imagine your workplace when none of your staff show up. Now what are you going to do? And so if you don't get that your key asset truly is your people, then I'm going to ask you what the legacy is that you're leaving behind.
That's a great point.
Because if the legacy is, it may not manifest into a problem during your reign as the leader, but I will guarantee you, with the fact that we've got an issue with not an issue, but our boomers are retiring, and for every 2 boomers retiring, there's only 1 replacement worker. Well, gee, where are we going to get our workforce? So whatever you've got, whatever number of people you've got in your workplace today to make things fly, you're going to have half of those in 5 years' time. What are you going to do? And I'll tell you something else. People will then have choice. Supply and demand are going to change, where people will choose. And if they don't like your workplace because you don't give diddly squat about them, what's going to happen is they're going to leave. And they're going to find those people that do care about them, that are creating a culture where it's great to be, so they can wake up in the morning and say, I'm glad to be going to work. So look at it. It doesn't matter whether you see it today or in the future, you're going to see it sooner or later, because all the forces right now in the environment are conspiring to have to really suck it up and create a culture that's an amazing place for people to work. And that's why this time is so exciting.
Yeah, it is wonderful. And we're very excited to work with people who believe in this. You know,
yes.
we do have those individuals that are still digging in their heels, and they're saying, well, they're going to do it because I told them to. And they're going to do it because that's what they get paid. And they don't have a choice. And it's like, well, they do have a choice. You know.
Sure they do. And now I just met with a whole bunch of your clients this morning, and they are so engaged and loving the work that you're doing for them. And I'm really happy because it's in alignment with what we're doing. So kudos, and I'm just going to tell you, personally right now, is if you've got organizations who are not leaders or are not buying in to this work, bless them, walk away,
yes.
and find others that are interested, because there's lots out there.
Absolutely. There certainly are, and that's what's really inspiring. You know, it's wonderful to have conversations with people like yourself and know that there are businesses that are similar but different, and we're all, you know, pounding the same drum and moving in the same direction. So before we wrap up, was there anything else that you wanted to add? Is there any closing remark or words to the wise that you'd like to part with?
You know, we're living in interesting times right now, and knowing what we know about the importance of culture and work experiences that really support people, thriving work cultures. And if you're one of those people who are buying into that, continue to talk about it, continue to align with yourself at Pillars, with us at your workplace, because that's where we're moving in the future, and that's the exciting part. And what I say is just continue on believing and sharing the information, because we need to hear about your stories.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Vera. I'm Corry Robertson, Senior Partner with the Pillars. I have 2 business partners, and together we've created an organization that believes that for business to thrive, people must thrive. If you agree, like Vera said, if you're one of those people who already know that to be true, then we're always looking forward to speaking with you, and we'd love to come by and set up a meeting or talk on the phone or have you at one of our events. So thank you for spending the time with us today, and we look forward to connecting.